Not every woman has to love engineering. I think it's just so important that girls, women should know that it is a career that exists. You can be an engineer if you want to.
Amanda Kangai. This is STEMazing.
I grew up in Brighton with my parents' older brother and younger sister. Growing up, I really liked school. I enjoyed going to school. I enjoyed learning. It's interesting figuring out how to tackle different and difficult tasks, just not setting any limits or boundaries on what I could achieve. Also, my parents were very education-oriented, so always pushing me to do my best in class. So this helped me in class, but also it helped me problem-solve in everyday situations in life. So I can thank my quick decision-making, my good intuition, down to just growing up with a love for school. It's helped me grow in so many ways. I've always really enjoyed STEM subjects and activities, so naturally just liking mathematics, physics. I enjoy the confidence boost that you get from being able to solve a question and getting the right answer. But as I got older, I found my love for engineering and just appreciating the freedom and creativity that comes with it. There are definitely barriers to maths and science and STEM in general, especially for people who it doesn't come naturally to, and school isn't always the easiest for people, which I totally understand. But if I was to tell people who want to get better at maths or they want a career in something where maths is important, I always encourage them to just push themselves and think about the attitude that you have when you're attempting a problem. It's so easy to be deflated when answering a really tough question, but just going step by step. And this is the same with life, just taking it step by step, not just treating it as a whole big issue, but just trying to have a more calm, formulaic approach. That's what I would recommend other people. Just like math and just like school, it's okay if you haven't got all the answers correct. I mean, really smart people don't get 100% all their exams. It's just about doing as best as you can. That's the main thing. And it's more about your performance improvement relative to yourself. So not comparing yourself to somebody else, but how much have you improved over the year? So I studied aerospace and mechanical engineering at the University of Cambridge. Similar to other engineering courses, women definitely are not the majority. I think in my first year, the proportion is about 26% of women in the entire engineering field, which to be honest, isn't the worst. I mean, I definitely did see other girls in the lecture theatres and during labs, so I didn't feel alone in that sense. But in my college, I was the only female engineer in my year. But luckily, my cohort was super amazing and friendly. I've made lots of lifelong friends in my year. Of course, it's always great to connect with other female engineers, and I wanted that for myself. So with that, I decided to join the Cambridge University Women Engineering Society. So I was vice president in my third year, and it was honestly the most rewarding experience. I had an amazing president, and together we just had so much fun preparing society, hosting events, bringing other female engineers together. It's just so good to be able to have done that for people. So that was a great time, and it's a very new society, very young. I think it was only about 4 years when we started. So compared to other engineering societies, which have been for hundreds of years, it's very young. But I was very glad to contribute to the growth, and I'm still very proud of everything that the society does. So I personally never felt any distinction in being a Black woman doing engineering. Definitely, I was aware that I was even more of a minority than just being a woman engineering by being Black, but that was never a barrier in my mind. I mean, of course, I was doing what I want to do, what I love to do, but it's also great seeing other people that look like you. So it wasn't necessarily a barrier, but it was always lovely to see other people that look like you and, you can have common experiences with. And I also found that we're very more transparent in terms of everything they had to do. And it was a really good benefit. And honestly, just finding connections from higher years, that was really encouraging for me. Just seeing their faces around, I really looked up to them. So that was something I would recommend to people, is just finding those connections with people that have already done what you'd like to do. Just reaching out, because they have so much wisdom to share, and it's just so refreshing seeing somebody who is similar to you in a position that you want to be in. It's just insightful to get their perspective and advice on things. STEM can be quite challenging, and my degree was difficult. But what kept me motivated was my strong sense of self-belief. I'm firmly in my own corner. I think just backing yourself is the most important thing, and just having a good attitude in terms of how you go into situations and just having perseverance. That kind of attitude is the most important thing that needs to be learned. And of course, that takes longer than maybe technical skills. I was relatively weak on this earlier on. But yeah, just growing up, doing different challenges, taking myself out of my comfort zone, I found that now I believe in myself a lot more. You need to be your own biggest supporter, your own cheerleader. You know, I deserve this. You know, you need to be the person that backs yourself more and basically strive for everything that you want. There are several things that I'm not the best at, but I see that as places for visible improvement, and yeah, just being able to push through and find relief in the fact that even though I didn't start with a good knowledge base, in about an hour or 2 hours or a week or a month or a year, I know a lot more than I did before. And that progress is the most important thing. Just being able to find people who can support you in whatever you do, I think that's really important. It can be isolating enough already, so don't isolate yourself further. So yeah, definitely find yourself a network and a group of people to just cope with all the stresses and just relax and talk about life. I was always very interested in motorsports. When I was younger, my dad loved to watch the F1 Grand Prix. So going downstairs, I'd be like, Dad, what are you watching? What's happening on the TV? And yeah, no, I found it really fun, really exciting. But it's a weird thing, like, it never really clicked to me that I can make it my profession, which is weird now because obviously I'm very motorsport crazed, have that motorsport experience, really love it. But back then, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is so fun, I should work here. It just never clicked. I think that might be to do with not seeing representation of yourself in motorsport. It's just not something that I thought, yeah, I can definitely do this. Just not seeing women or black people in the paddock, like that distinction. It's not necessarily like a conscious decision where I'm watching motorsport and I'm like, okay, there's no women, there's no black people, therefore I can't do it. It's just like an unconscious thing, which is why I think representation is just so important. Not just in motorsport, in any career. So my first experience in motorsport was when I was a student ambassador for Extreme E. It wasn't an engineering role, but I still decided that it would be really cool and educational to understand how a championship is being run. And yeah, I went to Sardinia, I went to Uruguay, I went to other amazing places with Extreme E. Just being on location, talking to drivers, engineers, team principals, very unique opportunity, and it was incredible. So actually in Sardinia, I met the head of operations of one of the teams. We had a chill conversation over lunch. By the end of the race weekend, I was like, I'm going to try and catch up with her again. And yeah, handed her my CV. Just thought I'm very interested in doing engineering for motorsport, and if there's any opportunities, just let me know. And luckily, she reached back to me, I think about 2 months, 3 months later. And yeah, after some interviews, I was hired to be their junior engineer. So this was through the Racing for All initiative, which was developed through Extreme E, but also through Lewis Hamilton's commission. So Lewis Hamilton did a report, some research, and just found that the lack of representation in motorsport is obviously so glaring. And the kind of way to make it a bit better is for each of the teams on Extreme E to offer one position for a young engineer or mechanic who hasn't had experience in motorsport. So through that, they offered me a position. So yeah, I mean, honestly, a life-changing position. So yeah, I had an amazing experience with Extreme E. So I was with Eon Next Veloce Racing for 2 seasons. So with them, I traveled to places like Saudi Arabia, Chile, Italy. I mainly worked in strategy, but there being only 7 people in a team, I did a bit of everything. So if it was like a quick turnaround, I'd do some mechanic stuff, get my hands dirty, wipe the mud from the car, etc., help the drivers. So yeah, it was a very all-encompassing role, which makes sense. It's Extreme E, we're in extreme conditions, we're racing in the middle of nowhere, so I need to be able to do whatever random stuff needs to be done. And it was just a great environment to learn and enjoy motorsports. And then also being part of the Extreme E program, I also got the opportunity to work some rallycross events for Yellow Squads, which is the sister team of Hanson Motorsport. So I got to work 2 different types of motorsport by just being in that place, in that environment, which is honestly amazing. And yeah, I've never looked back. I was also the first female recruit for Extreme E's Racing for Initiative. And I'm really happy about that because, yeah, it's a testament to Extreme E and also to Eon Next Veloce Racing. It's not all just talk about sustainability, you know, both gender, environmental. It's not just talk, but there is action behind that. And I'm very happy to be able to have contributed in a positive way. So my first race was in Scotland, in Dumfries and Galloway. Day 1, I'm green, my first time in the paddock. It's my first race, you know, I haven't been with the team for long. I haven't been able to build those connections yet, but my heart is beating. I can't even explain to you like how much adrenaline I'm feeling. I'm like, okay, I need to lock here. I need to look at the video and to get all the data and to get this correct. Like, even though it's the first weekend, it's an exhilarating environment, whereas everyone is so determined to do the best job that you can. Everybody is very serious, very passionate about performing their role to the best of their ability. The other thing I really appreciated is how keen they were to help me along the way if needed. So yeah, being able to like dive deep into the data, get into how our race team works, how the engineering strategy works, that was so cool. Loving data, loving going through files, video files, logging things, doing competitor analysis, seeing what people have done in previous race weekends, and just giving the drivers as much information and reference points so they can maximize their performance and the ability of the car. Just making sure that the drivers are less likely to be caught out on certain things in that case. That was basically my main goal, my main job. Just do anything for the team to win. And actually going back to the first race in Scotland, on the Saturday we had a bad race. Unfortunately, we had a suspension problem, I think, on Saturday. So we weren't able to move past the start line. It was interesting, my first race being something where it wasn't all positive, just seeing how people reacted. People were straight to diagnosing that problem. What happened? What can we do better? Okay, already positive, looking forward. Let's do this, encouraging, not feeling bad for yourself, but okay, let's do this next time. And then Sunday, we won the race, which is crazy. In Scotland, in the rain and the mud, on the top step, just cheering, champagne spraying. It was such an amazing time, amazing memory that I always hold. There was one time when I was in the command center. Basically, my job was to report to the chief engineer and just relay information to them to then relay to the driver. And there was actually an issue that I had where I didn't make it clear enough to my chief engineer. So that was a mistake on my behalf. And yes, afterwards he asked me, like, why do you not do this? Why do you not tell me this thing to do? I mean, this is your job to do. And of course, in that moment, I was like, oh no, it's a disaster. I didn't execute to the best of my ability. And of course, being in those high adrenaline moments, sometimes you can miss things. I just found that, especially in motorsport, people are blunt. They just tell you how it is. You didn't do this, you can do this better. And it's not about necessarily taking it personally. They just want you to be the best version of yourself, to push yourself and just stay on top of things. It could get really hectic in the command center, there's 5 other teams, people talking at the same time. Like, did I hear you say that right? I'm not too sure. And just having a bit of hesitation at the moment made me make that mistake. But I would just say, the main thing is bouncing back. People always make mistakes. And of course, the next time I went to the command center, I never made that mistake again. And just about learning from those mistakes. So that's the main thing. Of course, as an engineer, I want things to run as smoothly as possible. But in the real world, it's not going to run smoothly. As an engineer, I want to run simulations. I want things to be exactly to the standards. All the assumptions I make want to be correct. But in the real world, that's not the case. People are going to fail. People are going to make mistakes. And that's okay, just being able to bounce back, take the criticism, just understand and make yourself better. I think that's the most important thing. I do think that the racing world is becoming more inclusive. So you definitely see a lot more women on the paddock, on the pit wall, a lot more women who are interested in motorsport, which I love. Programs like Girls on Track, Driven by Us. Examples like in F1, Laura, the first female strategy engineer. I just love hearing her voice on the radio, so refreshing. I think it's amazing. And yeah, of course, there's other amazing female engineers, Ruth Bascom, Bernie. Of course, with other STEM careers, there could be better representation for women, definitely. Women, people of color, people from different backgrounds, different religions, etc. I just think that having diversity in engineering is just very beneficial in terms of the different approaches, different perspectives. People who live different lives can bring different things to a problem. You don't want to have a team of people who are all thinking the same, been taught the same, approaching the problem. You're not going to be optimized. You're not going to get the best. You're not going to think about different scenarios. You're not going to be prepared for different things. So I just think diversity in engineering in general is just very beneficial. I do also believe that not every woman has to love engineering. Not every woman has to love motorsport like I love motorsport. I think it's just so important that girls, women should know that it is a career that exists. You can be an engineer if you want to. I think representation is the key to just, showing people that you can be here. It's accessible. If you like to, you have the passion, then you can go and do whatever you like. You shouldn't feel like you don't have access to something. If you're very motivated, if you want to do a particular role, particular job, particular thing, you should be able to be confident that you can excel in that particular field. I mean, it's always lovely to have representation in the fields that you want, but I'd also encourage people to try and be pioneers in their industry. It takes people like, me seeing other female engineers in the paddock to then me becoming an engineer and then hopefully me becoming somebody for somebody else. And I'd also say that once you become somebody in that position, don't just turn your back to the rest of the community. I'm now where I want to be. I'm not going to answer anybody's messages, emails. Remember what helped you and try and be that person for somebody else. I think that's so important. I am excited for the future. So yeah, I recently graduated with a master's and a bachelor's in aerospace mechanical engineering. So very happy. The education part of my life is now over. I'm now looking forward to starting a graduate trackside position with Pirelli. I'm really excited about it. Pirelli are the tyre suppliers for multiple motorsport championships, so including F1, F2, F3, and other GT categories. And yeah, I'm just very excited to start with them. If I could tell my 16-year-old self one thing, it would be to just enjoy every single moment. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't look too ahead of your future. I think that's very easy with young people in general. You feel like when you're 14 to have your whole thing figured out, your whole plan sorted out, you need to know who you want to be, what you want to do. And I mean, that's not really helped with the education system in terms of, you have to choose your GCSEs by year 9. And that kind of determines what you want to do if you want to do something educational based. But yeah, I would just tell myself, just enjoy every single moment. Don't be too hard on yourself. Enjoy the steps, enjoy the progress. I mean, it's easy to have high expectations for yourself. And obviously that's good. That's why I've done well, was having high expectations and pushing myself. But it's always great to have time to just relax and be a bit more easier on yourself. Tell yourself, I'm doing great. Just take everything in your stride. If you do that, you really won't believe where you end up, than just how much you grow and yeah, how soon you can accomplish everything that you want to do.
For more information about the guest featured in this episode, head to stamazing.co.uk/podcast. And to join the inspiration and inclusion revolution, just visit stamazing.co.uk. With thanks to Alexandra Knight and our production team at What Goes On Media. This is Stamazing.